In a land torn apart by war, Eldrin wakes up on a battlefield, lost and confused, with no memory of his past. As chaos swirls around him, he feels an urgent need to escape. Seraphine, a brave young woman from a nearby village, finds him and helps him flee, sensing something special within him. As they run, Eldrin feels a strange connection to the land of Caldara, as if it is whispering secrets he cannot yet understand. Their journey together is just beginning, filled with challenges and the search for truth. Eldrin's eyes fluttered open, the harsh light of day blinding him momentarily. He lay on the cold, hard ground, surrounded by the remnants of a battle. The air was thick with the acrid smell of smoke and blood. Shouts and cries echoed in the distance, mingling with the clatter of metal on metal. Confused, he pushed himself up, but his body felt heavy, as if the weight of the world pressed down upon him. "Where am I?" he whispered, his voice barely audible over the chaos. Panic surged through him. He had no memory of how he got here or who he was. The only thing he felt was an overwhelming sense of urgency, a primal instinct that drove him to move. He stumbled to his feet, the ground beneath him littered with the remnants of the fallen, shattered weapons, broken shields, and the still forms of warriors who had fought bravely. "Come on, we need to go." A voice broke through Eldrin's haze of confusion. He turned to see a young woman running toward him, her long hair flying behind her like a banner. Her eyes were wide with determination, and she reached out, grasping his arm. "This way." Eldrin did not resist. He followed her lead, feeling an odd connection to her, as if she were a lifeline thrown into the storm of his disarray. They ducked behind a crumbling wall, the sounds of battle fading into the background. "Who are you?" Eldrin asked, breathless. "What is happening?" "I'm Seraphine," she replied, glancing back at the battlefield. "You don't remember anything, do you?" He shook his head, frustration bubbling within him. "No, it's all gone." Seraphine's expression softened. "You were caught in the battle, but we can't stay here. The fighting will spread, and you need to get to safety." Eldrin's heart raced as he followed her. With every step he took, the land of Caldara seemed to whisper to him, secrets hidden just beyond his reach. He felt a strange bond with the soil beneath his feet, as if it called out to him, urging him to understand. But the meaning eluded him. As they ran, Seraphine led him through the ruins of what had once been a village. "You have to trust me, Eldrin. There's something about you. Something that feels different. You might be the key to turning this all around." "Key?" he echoed, unsure of what she meant. "What do you mean?" "I can't explain it all now. Just know that the people of this land are suffering under a tyrant. We need help, and I think you might be the answer," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. Eldrin felt a spark of hope flicker within him, but doubt quickly followed. "What if I'm not who you think I am? What if I'm just a burden?" Seraphine stopped and turned to face him, her eyes fierce. "You are not a burden. You survived when so many others did not. That means something. We all have a part to play in this fight, even if we don't yet know what it is." The weight of her words settled in Eldrin's mind. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to be more than just a lost soul in a chaotic world. As they continued to move, he found himself stealing glances at Seraphine, admiring her resolve. She was small in stature, but fierce in spirit, and he felt drawn to her in ways he could not explain. "Do you think we can really change things?" Eldrin asked, uncertainty creeping into his voice. Seraphine paused, taking a deep breath. "I have to believe that we can. If we don't fight back, then what hope do we have? This land deserves better, and so do you." Eldrin's heart swelled with a newfound determination. He might not know who he was or what lay ahead, but he knew one thing for certain. He would stand with Seraphine. Together, they would face the chaos of Caldara, seeking the truth that lay hidden in the shadows. Eldrin lay on a simple cot in Seraphine's village, the gentle sounds of nature surrounding him. The chaos of the battlefield felt like a distant nightmare. Yet, as he opened his eyes, flashes of memory flickered in his mind, like shadows dancing just out of reach. He sat up slowly, a wave of confusion washing over him. "Do you remember anything?" Seraphine asked, her voice soft but filled with concern. She sat nearby, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The sunlight streamed through the window, highlighting her determined features. Eldrin shook his head. "Just fragments, dark images." He paused, trying to piece them together. "I see a face, but I cannot remember who it is." Seraphine nodded, a look of understanding in her eyes. "We all have our burdens, Eldrin. Mine is my village." She took a deep breath, her tone growing serious. "My people suffer under the tyrant's rule. Every day we face hunger and fear. I must do everything I can to protect them." Eldrin felt a pang of sympathy for her. "How can I help?" he asked, his voice stronger now. "There is little we can do alone," she replied, her gaze steady. "But perhaps together, we can find a way." As days passed, Eldrin grew stronger, but he also felt something stirring inside him. One afternoon, while gathering herbs with Seraphine, he accidentally crushed a plant with his hand. A strange energy surged through him, and the air around them shimmered. "What was that?" Seraphine gasped, stepping back. Her eyes widened in awe and fear. I don't know," Eldrin stammered, shaking his hand as if trying to rid himself of the lingering sensation. "I didn't mean to do it." The villagers soon noticed Eldrin's unusual abilities. Whispers circulated about him, some fearful, others intrigued. One evening, as they sat by the fire, a villager named Rowan spoke up, his voice thick with suspicion. "What if he is a spy for the tyrant? We do not know who he truly is." Seraphine frowned, her protective instincts kicking in. "Eldrin is not our enemy. He saved my life on the battlefield." "But what if he brings danger to us all?" Rowan insisted, his words igniting tension among the villagers. Eldrin felt the weight of their stares, a mix of fear and awe. "I'm not here to harm anyone," he said, his voice firm but calm. "I want to help you fight against the tyrant. I just need to understand who I am first." As whispers died down, Seraphine turned to Eldrin, her expression conflicted. "You must learn to control your powers. They can be dangerous if left unchecked." "I will try," he promised. But doubt lingered in his heart. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Seraphine found Eldrin alone by the river. She approached him, her heart heavy with unspoken feelings. "There is something I need to tell you," she began hesitantly. "What is it?" Eldrin asked, sensing the weight of her words. "There is a connection between my family and the tyrant," she revealed, her voice trembling. "My father, he works for him. I've always wanted to fight against the tyranny, but I also feel loyalty to my blood." Eldrin's heart sank. "You hide such a burden, yet you carry it with strength. But how can we trust each other if our pasts are so tangled?" She looked away, her eyes glistening. "I don't know, but I want to find a way. I want to fight for my people, for you." "Then let's do it together," Eldrin replied, reaching out to gently touch her arm. "But we must face the truth, no matter how painful." As the night deepened, the stars twinkled above, silent witnesses to their growing bond and the weight of their secrets. Eldrin felt a flicker of hope amidst the darkness, but he also knew that the path ahead would not be easy. With Seraphine by his side, he felt a sense of purpose, even as the shadows of their past lingered close behind. Eldrin sat alone in the dim light of Seraphine's home, shadows dancing on the walls as the sun dipped below the horizon. His heart raced, and a cold sweat broke out on his brow. The memories came flooding back, uninvited. In a moment of stress, he saw flashes of a battlefield, a younger version of himself barking orders, and then chaos as he turned against his own army. "No, I won't let it be true," he whispered to himself, clutching his head in despair. The weight of guilt threatened to crush him. Seraphine entered the room, her expression a mix of concern and determination. "Eldrin, what is wrong? You look pale." He looked up, fear dancing in his eyes. I remember something. I was a commander, but I betrayed my own men. I watched them fall because of me." Seraphine's brow furrowed. "You need to let that go. You are not that man anymore. You are here, fighting for a different cause." "But what if I become him again?" Eldrin's voice cracked. "What if I hurt you or your people because of who I was?" "Stop it!" Seraphine's voice rose, frustration bubbling to the surface. "You cannot keep hiding from your past. You have to face it. We all have things we regret." Eldrin jumped to his feet, anger flashing in his eyes. "You don't understand. You don't know what it's like to betray those you are supposed to protect." "Maybe I do," Seraphine shot back, her fists clenched. "My family has ties to the tyrant. Every day I feel the weight of that betrayal, but I cannot let it control me. You need to stop running away from who you were." The air between them crackled with tension. Eldrin took a step back, the truth in her words stinging. "So, you think I should just accept it? Live with the guilt?" "No," she said softly, her tone shifting. "But you need to understand that we cannot move forward if we don't confront our pasts. I cannot let your mistakes define who you are now, and neither can you." Eldrin's gaze softened, and he looked down at the floor. "What if facing it only tears us apart?" "Then we will deal with that together," Seraphine replied, her voice steadier now. "We have to trust each other. I am not going to give up on you." A heavy silence fell between them as they both processed the weight of their words. Eldrin felt the warmth of her conviction seep into his heart, battling against the coldness of his guilt. "I don't want to be a burden to you, Seraphine." "You are not a burden," she insisted, stepping closer. "You are a part of this village now. We all have burdens to carry. It is what makes us stronger together." He looked into her eyes, searching for any hint of doubt, but all he found was unwavering support. "You are right. I need to face the truth. I cannot hide anymore." Seraphine smiled, relief washing over her features. "That's the spirit. Let's do it together. We can't let our pasts dictate our futures. We have to fight for what is right, for our people." Eldrin nodded slowly, determination starting to replace fear. "You have no idea how much that means to me. I want to fight for Caldara, for you." "Then let's prepare," Seraphine said, her voice firm again. "We will gather the villagers and share our plans. Together, we can face whatever comes next." As they stood side by side, Eldrin felt a flicker of hope igniting within him. Maybe, just maybe, he could forge a new path, not just for himself, but for the land he was beginning to love. They were bound by their pasts, but also by their resolve to create a better future, together. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a fiery glow over Seraphine's village. The air was thick with tension, as whispers of the tyrant's approach spread like wildfire among the villagers. Eldrin and Seraphine stood at the edge of the village square, their hearts pounding in unison. "We need to prepare," Seraphine urged, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "They will not stop until they break us." Eldrin nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had never been one to lead, yet here he stood, a flicker of resolve igniting within him. "What can I do to help?" he asked, his voice firm. "Gather the people," she replied, determination shining through. "We must unite. If we fight together, we have a chance." As Eldrin moved through the village, he felt an unfamiliar power stirring inside him. The stories of his past haunted him, but he pushed them aside, focusing instead on the task at hand. He called out to the villagers, rallying them with words of hope and courage. "Listen, we cannot let the tyrant take our home," he shouted, his voice echoing in the air. "We fight for our families, for our future." The villagers looked at him with a mix of fear and admiration. They had seen the chaos of war, and now they were faced with the choice to stand and fight. Slowly, they began to gather, forming a circle around Eldrin and Seraphine. Just then, the ground shook beneath them. A distant roar reached their ears, growing louder with every passing moment. The tyrant's forces were approaching. Eldrin's heart raced as he felt the surge of power within him, a reminder of the abilities he had yet to fully understand. "Eldrin," Seraphine called, breaking his focus. "We need a plan." Before he could respond, the first wave of soldiers stormed into the village. Eldrin's instincts kicked in. He raised his hands, and a wave of energy burst forth, knocking several attackers off their feet. The villagers gasped, eyes wide with astonishment. "Did you see that?" one villager exclaimed. "He has powers." Eldrin's heart sank. He had hoped to be seen as a protector, not a weapon. "Stay together," he shouted, regaining his composure. "We can push them back." As the battle raged on, Seraphine fought fiercely alongside him. With each swing of her sword, she made her mark, inspiring others to join the fight. Yet, amidst the chaos, Eldrin sensed something was amiss. He glanced at Seraphine, noticing a shadow of conflict in her eyes. "Seraphine, are you okay?" he asked, dodging an attacking soldier. I need to tell you something," she panted, her breath heavy with exertion. "My family, they are tied to the tyrant. I never wanted this." Eldrin's heart tightened. "What do you mean?" he pressed, grasping her arm as they fought back to back. "My father serves him," she confessed, her voice barely audible above the clamor. "I didn't want you to find out like this. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Eldrin's frustration bubbled over. "We could have faced this together." "I was afraid," Seraphine shouted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Afraid of what you would think of me, afraid of losing you." In that moment, a soldier lunged at them, forcing them to turn their focus back to the battle. Eldrin felt a rush of energy surge through him again, and he unleashed a powerful blast, sending several attackers flying. But the collateral damage was evident. A nearby building crumbled under the force, and Eldrin's heart sank further. "Eldrin!" Seraphine yelled, panic in her voice. "You have to control it." "I'm trying," he replied, frustration boiling. "I don't know how." As they fought on, the village was pushed to the brink of destruction. Eldrin could feel the villagers' hope wavering, and he knew he had to make a choice. He looked at Seraphine, her face a mix of fear and determination. "I cannot let this place fall," he said, his voice steadying. "But I need to understand this power. I need you by my side." "Then let's fight together," Seraphine replied, her resolve returning. "We'll find a way." As the battle continued, Eldrin and Seraphine stood united, their hearts intertwined in a struggle against the tyrant's grip. In that moment, they knew they had to face the truth of their situation, not just for themselves, but for the village and for Caldara. The stakes had never been higher, and the choices they made would shape their future. In the aftermath of the fierce battle, the village lay in ruins. Eldrin and Seraphine stood amidst the remnants of what was once a thriving community. Smoke lingered in the air, and the cries of the wounded filled the silence that followed the chaos. Their hearts were heavy, burdened by the choices they had made and the lives lost. Eldrin looked around, his mind racing. "I never wanted this," he said, his voice low and filled with sorrow. "I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt." Seraphine turned to him, her expression a mix of anger and pain. "But people did get hurt, Eldrin. You had the power to stop it, and yet—" She paused, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You let your abilities take control." "I was trying to save them," he replied, frustration creeping into his tone. "I thought I could help." "Help?" she echoed, her voice rising. "You think saving some lives makes up for the others? You betrayed them, just as you betrayed your own army." Eldrin's heart sank at her words. He knew she was right. He had failed, and now he had to face the consequences. "I need to make this right," he said, determination shining through his despair. "I have to confront my past and find a way to redeem myself." Seraphine crossed her arms, torn between her love for him and her anger. "And what if you cannot? What if your past is too dark to overcome?" "Then I will face it," Eldrin replied, resolute. "But I cannot do this alone. I need you by my side, Seraphine." She hesitated, her heart battling with her mind. "You think I can just forgive and forget? You think it will be easy?" Eldrin stepped closer, his eyes pleading. "I know it won't be easy, but if we want to defeat the tyrant, we need to stand together. Our strength lies in our bond. We can't let our pasts tear us apart." Seraphine took a deep breath, her resolve softening. "I want to believe that," she said quietly. "But trusting you again, it's not that simple." Eldrin nodded, understanding her struggle. "I will do whatever it takes to earn your trust back. I will show you I am not the man I once was." A silence fell between them, heavy with unspoken words. The weight of their shared history pressed down, but deep within, a flicker of hope began to grow. They both knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they also realized that they could not allow fear to dictate their choices. "Let's start by gathering the villagers," Seraphine finally said, a spark of determination returning to her voice. "They need to know we will not let the tyrant win. We have to prepare for his next move." "Yes," Eldrin agreed, feeling a surge of purpose. "We must show them that we can fight back, together." As they moved through the village, gathering the remaining villagers, Eldrin felt a renewed sense of responsibility. Each face he saw reminded him of the lives he had affected, and he knew he had to make amends. "Listen," Seraphine called out, her voice steady and strong. "We have faced loss, but we will not be defeated. Together, we can stand against the tyrant and reclaim our home." The villagers murmured among themselves, fear and uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Eldrin stepped forward, his heart racing. "I know I have caused pain," he began, his voice firm yet gentle. "But I am here to fight for you, to protect you. I will not let my past define me or our future." Slowly, the villagers began to nod, hope starting to replace despair. They were willing to listen, to believe that change was possible. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the village, Eldrin and Seraphine stood side by side. They exchanged a glance, a silent promise passing between them. They knew the road ahead would be difficult, but together, they would face whatever challenges awaited them. With renewed resolve, they set their sights on the tyrant, ready to reclaim Caldara and forge a new destiny, one where love and redemption could flourish. The sun hung low in the sky, casting an orange glow over the battlefield where Eldrin and Seraphine stood, hearts racing. The air was thick with tension and the scent of smoke. Eldrin's eyes locked onto the figure of the tyrant, a dark silhouette against the horizon. He felt the weight of his past pressing down on him, but this time he also felt something stronger: hope. "Eldrin, are you ready?" Seraphine's voice trembled slightly, but her eyes shone with determination. She stood beside him, her presence a beacon of light in the encroaching darkness. "I am," he replied, his voice steady. "I will not let my past define me any longer. I fight for us, for Caldara." The tyrant raised his hand, and the ground trembled as his forces gathered behind him. "You think you can challenge me, traitor?" The tyrant's laugh echoed across the battlefield, cold and mocking. "You are nothing without your powers. You abandoned your army once, You will do it again." Eldrin clenched his fists, feeling the energy coursing through him. Memories flooded back, his betrayal, the faces of those he had let down. But now he remembered Seraphine's smile, her unwavering belief in him. "I may have fallen, but now I rise. I fight for those who cannot fight for themselves." He took a step forward, a spark igniting in his chest. "Eldrin, wait," Seraphine called, reaching for him. "We need to be careful. If you use too much power—" "I know the risks," he interrupted gently. "But I must embrace who I am. I'll do whatever it takes to protect you and this land." The tyrant sneered, raising his sword. "You are a fool. Prepare to meet your end." As the battle commenced, Eldrin felt the surge of his powers. He summoned the earth beneath him, creating barriers of stone to protect Seraphine and the villagers who had gathered behind them. "Stay close," he shouted, glancing back at her. "We can do this together." Seraphine nodded, her spirit unwavering. "I believe in you, Eldrin. We can overthrow him." With renewed strength, Eldrin focused on the tyrant, channeling every ounce of energy he had. "This ends now," he declared, unleashing a wave of energy that shook the ground. The tyrant stumbled but quickly regained his footing, anger flashing in his eyes. "You foolish boy," he roared. "You think your powers can defeat me? I am the ruler of Caldara." Eldrin's heart raced as he felt the ground tremble beneath the tyrant's fury. "No, you are a tyrant, and your reign of fear ends today." He pushed forward, drawing on Seraphine's love and the strength of the villagers behind him. As they fought, Eldrin could feel the bonds of trust between him and Seraphine strengthening. "Together!" he shouted, and they moved as one, their powers intertwining. Seraphine summoned the winds, creating gusts that disoriented the tyrant, while Eldrin sent blasts of energy to weaken him. "Eldrin, Seraphine began, but before she could finish, a flash of darkness erupted from the tyrant, knocking her back. "Seraphine!" Eldrin cried, panic surging through him. "I'm okay!" she called, struggling to her feet. "Just keep fighting!" With a roar of determination, Eldrin faced the tyrant once more. "You will not take her from me!" He unleashed a powerful wave of energy, the ground shaking beneath his feet. The tyrant staggered, his arrogance faltering for the first time. The battle raged on, but with each moment, Eldrin felt the truth of his identity solidifying. He was not just a traitor, he was a warrior, a protector of Caldara. "This is for everyone you've hurt," he shouted, gathering all his strength for one final blow. In a moment of clarity, Eldrin realized what he had to do. He could save Caldara, but at a cost. The cost of losing Seraphine forever. "I love you, Seraphine," he yelled, the truth spilling from his heart. "No matter what happens, know that you are my light." As he unleashed a massive surge of energy, the air crackled with power. Seraphine's eyes widened, understanding the sacrifice he was making. "Eldrin, don't," she cried. But it was too late. In a blinding flash, Eldrin's powers collided with the tyrant, overwhelming him. The darkness shattered, and for a moment, everything went silent. Eldrin felt himself being pulled away, but he held on to the memory of Seraphine, their love a shield against the void. When the light faded, the tyrant lay defeated, and Eldrin found himself on the ground, breathless but alive. Seraphine rushed to his side, tears in her eyes. "You did it! You saved us!" Eldrin smiled weakly, feeling the warmth of her hand in his. "Not just me. We did it together." The villagers cheered, hope igniting in their hearts. Eldrin embraced Seraphine, knowing their journey had only just begun. They stood side by side, united in purpose, ready to forge a new legacy for Caldara, one filled with hope and love. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a moment when you found strength in love during difficult times, and subscribe for more inspiring tales like this one.